Hello and welcome, my name is Chris from ChristopherHall.com and welcome to this video where we're going to be continuing our talk about how to build and change habits. We can use these principles in any setting, could be in health and fitness, could be in financial, could be in vocational, could be family, could be any setting that we choose to use them because they are the principles rather than specific, let's just say, actions towards a specific goal. So in the previous videos, you would have heard me talk about the anatomy of behavior change, so neuroplasticity, myelination, and then you would have, in the next video, we talked about the concept of repetition and deep practice. Now those two videos, obviously the first one is more about the inner game, and the second one is more about the outer game, what we need to be thinking about and exposing ourselves to. In this one, we're going to talk a little bit more about the inner game, but also we're going to continue to talk about what we need to do on the outside with regards to our actions and what we should be, I guess, practicing when we're thinking about changing any habits that we want to change. So before we get into that, I just quickly want to go through, please do come along and join me on social media. You can see my social channels up in the top right hand corner here. So Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, please pop along, like and follow on there. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then alternatively, you can come to the website where you can go to christopherhall.com/join. You can join the newsletter where we've got more featured videos. It's all based around a theme. So every newsletter that we release each month is built around a theme. So we're able to collect more information on one subject to give you a better understanding of that subject rather than just in one of these sort of short 5 to 10 minute videos. So back to what we are talking about today, which is building and changing habits. What we're talking about in this video is the concept of making small changes, and we're going to answer two questions. First one is why do it in small changes, and then how to do it in small changes. So to answer the first question as to why we should be thinking about changing in small changes, is it's not as overwhelming. If we take on one big huge goal that we want to do all at the same time, then it's going to overwhelm us and we're probably going to burn out and not achieve the goal. On the flip side of that, it's to make sure they're big enough so you don't get bored, because if the changes are too small and you implement them slowly, then you're eventually going to get bored and again you'll just revert back to what you were used to. So what we want to be able to do is chunk them into small parts so we can implement them, and then we can continue on, implement the next one, continue on, implement the next one, which is why we want to do it in small manageable chunks rather than one big huge chunk. And I'll give you an example. I was working in a gym, and in January we get a lot of people come through the door wanting to change their health and their fitness. And this one gentleman sat with me and he was describing sort of where he wanted to go with his fitness. I'm thinking, okay, fine, you've got that goal, this is great. Then what he sort of went on to is how he was going to do that. He was a person that hadn't really exercised in the past, and then all of a sudden he was going to train 5 days a week doing this type of training and that type of training. He was going to completely overhaul his diet and he was going to change all the way he was eating. And it was at that point I was starting to think, I don't think you're going to make this. Now, I know I'm not necessarily the person to say that, because who's to say whether they're going to make it or not, but on a sort of an experience level from speaking to a lot of the general public, I was of the understanding that I didn't think this guy was going to make it happen, because he was making too many big changes too soon. What would have been more useful for him is to what we're going to talk about next, which is the how. And that's to have a plan. So it's this gentleman having a plan. He knows where he wants to go, which is fine. And I wouldn't say to anyone, change where you want to go. So he has an idea of where he wants to go. Now we have to think about, okay, well, where are you? So we need to start building this plan of where are you want to go, and then we need to start itemizing the steps to be able to get there. And we need to be able to chunk those steps into small enough actions, so again, if we go back to the why, that they're not as overwhelming. but we also need to make sure that they're not sort of big enough that you, or we need to make sure they're big enough so you don't get bored. So they need to be just the right size. Now that could be person specific. Some people might need smaller chunks, some people can deal with bigger chunks. So that's another sort of thing to be mindful of. So it's to then chunk it into small action steps, and then along that journey is to be flexible, because there are going to be times where you're going to veer off of your path for whatever reason, and that reason is absolutely fine. But the main thing is we've got the plan, so we can turn straight back onto that path as soon as we can. So we need to be thinking about, one, having a plan, two, itemizing the steps out, and then three, of those steps, making small actions and then implementing those small actions. And then as we move along that journey, we're then able to be flexible. If we do veer off the path, we know how far we veered off, so we can just veer back on the path. And then we can start to move towards that goal a little bit more effectively, rather than just what happens generally with certainly health and fitness goals, and I would imagine with many goals out there, is people start, they get disheartened because they didn't chunk their goals down small enough, and they just give up on it and then just carry on with what they were trying to do, and then obviously the next year they try again, same happens again. So we need to really think about, what are we doing and how are we implementing these building and changing of habits, because it's this how that allows us to really develop our deep practice, and it allows us to expose ourselves to challenge, expose ourselves to making mistakes, because that's what the plan's there for. It's there to help us make those steps along the way. We can analyze how far we veered off the path and how far we need to come back on it. So what we're trying to do is bring all of these different concepts together into a plan, so we can start to move forward with the goals that we have and the habits that we need to be able to get us towards those goals. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you've gained a little bit from it. Hopefully you've gained a little bit more of an understanding, and maybe something that you can take away and think, yeah, a light bulb moment happened there. I'm going to implement this now, or I'm going to implement that now, or I'm going to chunk my goals in this way a little bit more. So hopefully it's done something like that for you. I'm not expecting this one little video to have all the answers for you, because again, that's not its purpose. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please, again, if you want to come find me on social media, come to Twitter, Facebook or Instagram and just type in my names in the search banner and click like, click follow. That'd be great to see you there. Or alternatively, come along to the website christopherhall.com/join. Join on to the monthly newsletter, where you can get more of information like this, and hopefully it can help you get you where you want to go. So many thanks for watching, many thanks for listening. My name is Chris. I'll speak to you in a future video.